Y'all listen to this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
So in other words, reparations for white people.
Come on. This is what I'm talking about. Like, these guys are working full time. Like, and mind you, Joy Reid has lost 54% of her audience after the election. Why? Welcome back to QTV. I'm your host, Kwa. In today's video, we still got liberals crying still today. I'm still just trying to wrap my brain around some of the things that's being said because it makes no sense. I just don't understand. You know, I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. I thought maybe they're in distress. I thought, you know, of them were, you know, experiencing anxiety. Instead of calming down and accepting that Donald Trump won, I just feels like the scare tactics, the woke machine is still turning on all gears. And I'm gonna show you those clips, and then I'm gonna give my reaction to those clips, and we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give my opinion. But before we get any further, I just want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, like the content. It helps the channel grow. But without further ado,
The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world, and yet we get the worst outcomes. We're at the bottom of every list. In total, American society pours more than $1 trillion a year into public education systems. But instead of being at the top of the list, we are literally right smack, guess what, at the bottom. Rather than indoctrinating young people with inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material, which is what we're doing now, our schools must be totally refocused to prepare our children to succeed in the world of work.
all right, so I don't want my kid to learn that kind of thing at school. So for me, I'm on board with this, and I'm sure a lot of Americans are on board with this. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to let the clip roll.
Life and the world of keeping our country strong so they can grow up to be happy, prosperous, and independent citizens. We owe our children great schools that lead to great jobs and leads to an even greater country that we're living in right now. Right now, we're living in a failing nation because of Joe Biden and these people running it. They're Marxists, they're communists. What they're doing to our country is incredible, but we'll take care of that for our children. Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire.
Letting the parents control the education of their children, I have no beef with that, and it should be that way. My kids shouldn't go to school and see men dressed in drag and tiny underwear walking around the school and dancing. No, absolutely not. I'm not on board with that, and nobody should be on board with that because it's highly sexual, and kids at a young age, come on. I don't even have to say much more than that.
The poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory, they will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student.
I'm on board with that as well. And I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in Mississippi in a small town. But having prayer, we prayed in school. You know, Jesus is the way, in my opinion. And since they've taken prayer and God out of schools have gotten progressively worse over time. I mean, clearly with all this over-sexualized things in schools, I'm on board with that. What is the issue here? I'm not understanding. And then on top of that, bullies. All right, so you hit a kid, immediate expulsion. Get them out of there. That's going to teach kids to keep their hands to themselves, and it's going to be on the parents to tell their children to keep their hands to themselves. But let me keep going.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
So that's one of those clips there, and I don't see the issue there. Closing the Department of Education, only 10% of the funds are to support school. If you're gonna send all the work, educational focuses back to the state, then guess what? That's more jobs in the education system in your state. We need more jobs. We're at the bottom of the education pool, and we spend more money. I don't see an issue with closing the Department of Education, especially if you're going to give an alternative to closing the Department of Education. It's not like closing the Department of Education isn't saying that, oh, we're going to shut schools down. I get the feeling that most people that's worried about that, they think maybe the Department of with closing the Department of Education that there's going to be no more schools. I don't think that's the case at all, and it doesn't make sense if it was the case. But we're going to get over to the next clip, and we're going to talk about it. And this is the clip. This here is the clip that everyone's going crazy about. And just listen to it. I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to show you what other people are saying about this.
For many years, tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding, while academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth. The time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing
let me go back.
Offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees,
Offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees. All right, so let me tell you a little story here. It's not really a story, but this is something that happened to me. A couple months ago, I got accepted into one of the top software engineering programs in the area. And long story short, I'm not attending that college right now. It was a 4-year degree. It was a 4-year course. I'm not attending right now. Why? Because it's expensive. I don't have the money to pay for it. So I decided that I was like, hey, maybe I'll get a second job. But no jobs either. My vote's already paying dividends, in my opinion, because this guy is already working full time on making America better, listening to the actual complaints of the American people. I just feel like he get it. I mean, you guys can disagree with me if you want to, but honestly, to me, he gets it.
Providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies.
All right. So this is the big one. This is what everybody has been complaining about. I want you to tell me, if you're here with me right now, looked at this video, tell me where in there did he say that he was going to provide reparations for white people. I didn't hear it not one time. What I heard was that I'm going to empower the Department of Justice to go after schools that engage in racial discrimination. Racism just doesn't exist black and white, white and black. Racism is to all Americans. All Americans. So that means if you've been racially discriminated against any American, then you are a part of that. There's nothing that says reparations for white people. I just don't get it. And then on top of all of that, there are so many people. I just want to show you some of the things that has been being said in the media over him saying this. In my opinion, you go to school, you get your education, you don't talk about racial discrimination, you don't engage in any of that. You go to school and you get your education. That's what a school is for. Come on.
Trump has proposed reparations for victims of racial discrimination. I did not misspeak. Donald Trump today has proposed that we should provide some reparations for people that are victims of diversity, equity, and inclusion in American universities. You heard that right. Donald Trump is proposing that any university...
Y'all listen to this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
So, in other words, reparations for white people.
Come on. This is what I'm talking about. Like, these guys are working full time. Like, and mind you, Joy Reid has lost 54% of her audience after the election. Why? Maybe because the Americans that was tuning in realized that what she does on her channel is she's a race baiter, and it's all BS. Like, reparations for white people. You got people following you, lady, and you're misleading them. I don't understand. Maybe that's why she lost 54% of her audience. And I wouldn't be surprised if her job is next. Nah, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but you got to do better. You got people watching you, lady. Give real news.
Donald Trump has just announced reparations for white people, for white boys and men. He thinks that our education system is catering too much to girls and people of color. He wants the Department of Justice to go after our schools and universities and take money.
So, let me ask you this. If I decide that I want to go to this school, my grades are good, everything, my scores are good, GPA is great, and I apply and I get discriminated against because I'm black, does that fall in the category of racial discrimination? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, but let's continue.
From them because he doesn't think they're catering enough to white men and boys. In what area? Does he think they're not giving?
What? Where in that video did he say that? I don't want to watch you anymore.
Water pick hack is
Do y'all remember this?
Black folks should not have to pay taxes. Oh, black folks should not have to pay taxes.
And do you remember how many people were in the comments talking about how this was not a viable solution for reparations and that reparations would never happen? Well, look at this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in entire amount of their endowment, working taxpayers, and that
Restitution for victims of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Racial discrimination as well. Add that in there. Like, but the Republicans are the ones, the conservatives are the ones that's been pushing propaganda. Make that make sense to me. I'm not sure if that makes sense to most Americans, but hey, I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy. But in other news, released at the same time as the proposal was the American Academy. I just told you guys a couple moments ago that I got accepted into the school that I couldn't go to because I couldn't afford it. But let me show you what.
in recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. It's time to offer something dramatically different. Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments, and we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy. Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the
Free of charge. Sold. Listen, come on. School should be free anyway. We pay taxes. We should get free schools. And hey, let them talk.
Federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree. In addition, to help the 40 million Americans who have some college education but no degree, the American Academy will grant credit for past coursework at legacy institutions and give you the chance to complete your education at the American Academy for free and much more quickly than is now possible or available. This will be a revolution in higher education and will provide life-changing opportunities for tens of millions of our citizens. Enjoy it, learn from it, and thank you.
Sign me up. Okay, so they've been drowning out this great thing here because restitutions for white people, which sounds so reparations for white people, which sounds so ridiculous to me. But listen to this: the American Academy, completely free, and it's gonna have to be recognized everywhere. All federal government contractors are going to have to be recognized everywhere. And I just told you that I couldn't go to the school because I couldn't afford it. This is for the people. But, I mean, you know, liberal media, woke media, they're going to still continue to cry. They're going to still continue to push fear. They're going to still continue to push propaganda at the end of the day, and that's okay with me. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but from henceforth, it is what it is. But that is my time today. If you guys enjoyed the content here with me today, please feel free to like the content, share the content, drop a comment down in the comment sections if you want to talk to me. I'm anxious to talk to you guys here. But until next time, peace, love, and fish grease. I'll see you guys on the next video.